Your mind can take you to many places. Wherever it is you end up, Raycon's everyday headphones featuring active noise cancellation and a 40-hour battery life will provide the perfect auditory solitude. And with Mother's Day right around the corner, you can show her your appreciation by getting her a pair of high-quality headphones before asking her to co-sign on another car loan. The whole meditation thing I do for these promotions is not really a joke. I try to get in at least 30 minutes before hitting the weights, and I live in an area that planes fly over all the time, and that can disrupt my concentration. But thankfully, Raycon's active noise cancellation blocks out any unwanted disturbances. Support this channel by going to buyraycon.com/52220 to get 20% off site-wide. Big thanks to Raycon for continuing to support independent creators like me. I moved to Chicago a couple of years ago from a different city, and I've always felt like I had the smarts and awareness to stay out of trouble. Of course, even the best laid plans so often go awry, especially with the assistance of alcohol. I met up with my boss at a bar that was close to my apartment, and we decided to part ways shortly after midnight. I was always pretty adamant about taking a car home and not walking. But after a couple beers and a few shots, I figured I could handle a 5-minute stroll. So I waved him off when he offered to escort me back to my place and watched as he got into his own rideshare. I then started heading home. Soon after, I turned off the main road onto my own street. My apartment was roughly 3 blocks away. As I was approaching the first cross street, a van pulled up and allowed me to pass in front of it. I heard the back door quickly slide open and heard someone's feet hitting the pavement. I took out my pocket knife and opened it and kept it tucked away under my sleeve. A quick glance revealed a man following me. He was wearing a hood with his head down, and he was quickly closing in on the gap between us, while fighting off a heart attack and trying to decide if I should make a break for it or not. A man appeared from around the corner, walking 2 fairly large dogs. Without thinking, I ran down the street to meet him. In retrospect, I must have scared the shit out of him. I don't know if he saw my knife, but from his perspective, suddenly some girl comes running over to him, hissing, "I don't know this guy, can I please walk with you?" He looked at me like I was crazy and started trying to walk away. So I repeated myself a bit slower this time. "I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. I just don't know this guy following behind me, and I was wondering if I could just walk with you." I looked back and watched my follower jump a fence, disappearing into a backyard. Once he figured out what I was saying, he was completely understanding. Both he and his dogs were super friendly, and he ended up walking me all the way back to my apartment. Unfortunately, I never got his name. But if you live in Chicago and own a dog named Pumpkin, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I've been lucky enough to have no further incidents, even in the drunkest of stupors. Looking back, I'm glad I never found out what my follower was up to. I am a registered nurse, and I had just gotten a job at a hospital in a pretty diverse part of Chicago. I wouldn't have labeled this area as being too sketchy, but things can change, you know? Across from my hospital was a Subway, the sandwich joint, not the Metro. Every morning I would get to work an hour early so I could have time to go over to Subway and grab some breakfast or a Diet Coke. This particular morning I walked in, there was a guy in the corner on his laptop with black garbage bags around him. It was pretty typical for bums to hang out in the area. He was pretty disheveled looking, but he had a laptop and a Bluetooth. He was one of those business bums, I guess. He had a woman with him who was also sort of messy looking, but I paid no attention to them and went about my morning. As I was eating, I hear the man speaking loudly into his cell phone. His tone was angry, then joking, and then he gets upset again. He kept saying things like, "Don't let them upset me. You know I can hurt them." His emotions seemed to be all over the place, but hey, I'm from Chicago. It's not too out of the ordinary to be around crazy people. But this is where things get a little weird. He walks over to me with his female friend and explained that she is in a nursing home and is being neglected. He was able to check her out the day earlier, and now they were trying to find a lawyer to talk to. He explains to me that she gets bed sores all over her legs, at which time he takes out his phone and shows me photos of this very overweight woman's very infected sores right above her private area. I guess he saw me in my nurse's scrubs and decided to unload on me. He then asked what I think they should do. This entire time he's shaking. His tone would go from compassionate to pissed off to despair to intense anger. He was getting so close to me, and it seems like he's getting upset with me. He begins talking about how all doctors and nurses deserve what's coming to them. What he said felt very threatening. I am only 5 feet tall, so I just sat there trying not to upset him. He then instructs the woman to pull her pants down and show me her sores. Naturally, she obliges and exposes her open sores and everything else, right next to my breakfast, in front of everybody. I give them my medical opinion that she needs to go to a fucking hospital, and I desperately look around for anyone else in the restaurant to come to my rescue, but to no avail. The insane man begins to sob, telling her that she shouldn't be ashamed of her sores, slamming his fist on my table, then starts laughing hysterically, followed by tears. This man was not well. The look in his eyes was something that I will never forget. It was like I was watching someone having a total psychotic breakdown. Even the woman that was with him, you know, the one with her pants down, seemed to be scared of him. When his mood stabilized a little bit, I used that as my chance to throw my stuff into my bag and mumbled something about being late for work. I wished them luck before bolting out of the fucking door. Yeah, just another day in Chicago. I'll probably have an encore of that next week. I want to preface this story by saying that I'm used to harassment and creepy encounters. I'm a 5'2", young, blonde female living in a suburb of Chicago. I've had my fair share of weird guys saying things to me and having the feeling like I was in danger. But this experience has been haunting me for a while. I go to college at the University of Illinois, and I walk to all of my classes since it was good exercise. And the furthest one from my dorm is only a 20-minute walk away. I take the same route to my 11 a.m. lecture every Friday. About 2 weeks ago, I was walking to my class, and I had one earbud in. I was minding my own business when I noticed a slightly beat-up pickup truck driving alongside me. This by itself wasn't that alarming. There's a lot of construction happening on campus right now, and the truck itself had this generic symbol for a masonry company on the side. Here's where it gets a bit unnerving. The truck slowed down to match my pace. I attributed this to the driver of the truck wanting to pull into the parking lot entrance just up ahead, so I stayed back to allow him to go in. But he suddenly stopped as well. I look at the driver of the truck, and it was obvious that he was trying to make it look like he wasn't staring at me. He had a paper map unfolded in front of him, but I saw his eyes looking at me through the rearview mirror. He was an older man, maybe about 60, and Caucasian. I started walking again, passing the parking lot, and the truck began moving again, still matching my pace. I decided to speed up a little bit, and he sped up as well. This is where I started to internally freak out. It's broad daylight. There are people around, but nobody is seeing this creepy man following me in his pickup truck. I began to weigh my options. There are other students around, so he might be waiting until I was alone. But if he tried something, there's a chance I could fend him off, since I've taken self-defense classes before. Or I could go inside the nearest building, risk missing my lecture, and just wait for him to go away. Thankfully, a bus pulled up behind him and honked multiple times. The bus driver was probably aggravated that this truck was going 5 miles per hour on a road that was 30. The driver seemed reluctant, but he eventually had to drive away. I returned to my dorm room after class and began researching. I looked up every masonry company in the area, scrolling through websites and Yelp reviews for hours on end. And I didn't find a single one with that same logo I saw on the side of that truck. I told my roommate what happened when she got back, and she thought I should report it to the campus police. I agreed with her and called it in. After being put on hold several times, they listened to my story and immediately transferred me to the actual police department. They sent out an officer to my dorm, and I recounted the story to him in person. The officer looked very concerned, and he agreed that I was definitely being followed. He asked me if I knew the license plate number, and I mentally kicked myself because I had been so freaked out that I didn't even think to take a picture of it or commit it to memory. I gave a description of the truck and the driver, and offered to draw up the logo since I'm an art student. The officer said that they would be increasing patrols in the area, and they would keep an eye out for any vehicles matching the description I gave. I may have gotten lucky that day, but that doesn't mean the next target will be. When I was 15, my parents and I were in Chicago visiting family. We had some time to kill while waiting for a train to head back home, so we decided to visit Grant Park, which was just a short walk away from the transportation center. We had been exploring the city all day, and the park seemed like the perfect spot to relax. Honestly, none of us were too keen on standing around a bustling station with people constantly going in and out. Around the time we had to head back, I lingered about 30 feet from my parents, staring at a mural of Martin Luther King Jr. painted on a brick building across the way. I was admiring the attention to detail. Suddenly, my dad called out, "Hey, hurry up." Being a stubborn teenager, I wanted to dig through my travel bag and take a photo of the mural with my Polaroid. It's a hobby of mine. When I protested, my father repeated himself, and something in his tone told me that he was worried. I sensed that something was off. My dad had grown up in Oak Park, not far from Chicago. As a kid, he spent time with his grandmother on the south side, while his father worked a construction job in the city during the 60s and 70s. He knew how bad things could get. As I approached him, he spoke to me in a low tone. "There's a man watching you." I brushed off what he said at first. There was someone watching me? No big deal. But then, I turned around and saw him. There was a man wearing a tan bomber jacket and a bright red pair of Converse sneakers. I remembered seeing those shoes from a TV show I watched, which is why that detail stuck with me. He was holding a cell phone and staring directly at us without blinking. His gaze was predatory, like he had spotted a huge crate of gold and was calling up some buddies to help him move it. The intensity of his stare was unnerving. Grabbing my arm, my dad said, "Come on, we're heading back to the station." We crossed the street, and the man followed, his eyes locked on me the whole way. At the next intersection, he crossed the street again to stay parallel with us. "Who is he? Why does he keep staring at me, Dad?" I stammered. We started weaving through streets, taking random turns, but every time we thought we had lost him, there he was, steadily closing the distance, his gaze unwavering. My heart pounded. My mom didn't seem as alarmed as my dad and I were, but didn't complain about anything. Desperate, we ran to the Macy's on State Street. Once we were inside, we finally felt safe. There were no signs of the bomber jacket assailant, but this encounter has left a lasting mark on me. I wonder what might have happened if he had caught up to us, or if I had been alone that day. I'm sure there was a reason that he was targeting me, but I'm not sure I really want to know.
There's always a reason.